our keynote speaker today deals with transformational leadership. He is a cultural guru, he is a leadership guru, he is a psychologist, an NLP practitioner. He's a jolly good egg. I've just been speaking to him, an extraordinarily amusing and good fun character to spend time with. So his keynote to us this evening, or this afternoon, it's been a long day, from difficult to different to delightful, dealing with other cultures, I would ask you to give a great Euro welcome to our keynote speaker, Matthew Hill.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How are we doing? Are you as fresh as on day one? That's not bad. It's not bad. Sorry. I normally shout. I've got a microphone, so I will just calm it down. If I get shouty, just do this. So thank you, everybody. There's a lot of people, and I hear we're going to get a lot more as the big event happens after me. I'm just the warm-up today. So that's fantastic. Thank Tad, Dom, Sabine, Minnie. A lot of these people have put this flawless, beautiful Rolls-Royce engine of a conference, a convention together. And I must say, I'm not normally with this crowd. I do know some mobility people, but your commercial drive is totally impressive. And your customer-facing charm and charisma is overwhelming. So just from me, thank you very much. I'm going to sort of clap the audience there. So let's go and do some stuff. Now, I'm a very lazy public speaker, so you will be doing the majority of the heavy lifting today. You've got a pass, because you were forced to sit at the front. So we're just going to experience cultural difference and do some stuff. No one's ever died. There have been some head injuries, but we're going to survive. So just stay with me on this. 50% of this session is really about you, to look in the cultural mirror, your cultural identity. What are you projecting? What is going on for you? And I think you're the richest people I know. You're the richest people I know. I'm going to explain that halfway through. And then there's the others. There's them. And we're going to look at what that means as well. So it's going to be a powerful session. And we'll see how far we get. Can I whiz through the chairs and speak to every one of you? That sounds scary, doesn't it? We'll see how we go. We'll process this. I want to start and say there's so much diversity in the room. People are specialists in various aspects of property, the destination itself. It might be providing other services around contracts or visas or immigration advice, culture, language, schooling, distribution, and making those cardboard boxes turn up on time. So I want to find something which is a common thread in all of us, and it's really the soft or small or escalated and dramatic conflict with other people. So that hopefully explains the title. So we're going to end on delightful. We're going to look at different, but also acknowledge that difference can be very difficult. So follow me on this transition. So let's just start with an assumption. So please, I'm going to hypnotize you now, Darren Daystar. Just start with an assumption. So the last conflict you had, the last escalation you had with a colleague, probably not someone lovely like the group we've got here, but maybe a global corporate that's annoying you. They're paying your wages, but they're also annoying you. And I want to make an assumption that really conflict begins with a misunderstanding. So the language is triggering you and causing you to react and get upset is not how it is intended to be sent, intended to be understood. Sometimes it is, in which case you have a direct communicator. More of that later. So we're starting with a mistake. And what happens? Well, are we all the same? We either escalate and go to DEFCON 2 immediately, or I'm British, we do a sulky withdrawal of cooperation. We call that cold conflict. Well, if that's the way they feel, crossing arms, I won't send the email today, I'll send it tomorrow. Titters of recognition from table 6. So that's the idea, and this is how it all starts. So how is a project meant to get completed when there is incomplete communication? There is not the spirit of collaboration and cooperation. It isn't. And so the project suffers. Then eventually the first wave of escalation, the pointy finger of blame, it's your fault. Or the open palm of denial, it's not me. And this escalates. Sometimes that can be the end of it. It can be reversed. Or the parental finger comes in locally and sorts that out. Some of you will have experienced the second chapter. There's a second wave here. So the global corporates who we've been hearing from our plenaries today, the margins are going down, the pressure's going up, we've got to super deliver. Value may be the way out of this, but it's not always the way out of this. What do we not want? A chief executive or a lawyer, someone, an HR hatchet person? The only hatchets we should see in Munich are on a stage at the Paulaner Brewery as people race to chop down trees. But a hatchet man gets on a Boeing 747, comes over here, stays in the Hilton. You know that's trouble. There's an escalation of implied threat and danger to you. Are we getting this? It's never going to end well. And we have to be worried about that, the veracity, the continuance of that contract itself, your careers. Is it time to start souping up your LinkedIn profile? I don't want that for you. But that's a way. And it starts with an assumption. It starts with a misunderstanding. It ends with unemployment. So let's do something. Let's do something. Hopefully we've reached just about the low of this session. It gets better from here. Project failure is unacceptable. Yes is the only answer. Let's find a way out of this. Okay? Take that there. So just look at those questions for a second. Why do others annoy me? Why do they annoy me? That's an interesting question. Have we ever asked that? That's probably quite a stressed Monday morning, Friday evening. I've got better things to do with my time. Email chain going onto the second screen. And then maybe some of the more enlightened of you are saying, well, am I annoying anybody else? And I've got a short answer for you. Yes, you are. Hence the 50-50. So what might be happening here? And what can I do about it? So that's really where we're going to go today. And a couple of tools, a couple of ideas. But it's really about language, it's about identity, and it's the richness of other people. So just remember that. That'll turn up again. The richness of other people is the answer. If any of you want to slip to the back of the book. But let's start with some interactivity. You are lovely people. There are about 700 people here. Who's been the nicest person you've interacted with? Maybe a new customer, a new contact, a perfect partner, and it started today. So imagine that. We're going to interact. We're going to interact pretty soon. Can you describe, just individually at the moment, we'll rev this up in a moment, can you describe individually, what characteristics, what values, what behaviors did they manifest that gave you the opportunity to label them as amazing, professional, great, a perfect partner, an exciting new contact, an exciting new customer? Anyone not met anyone amazing? Must try harder. No arms. Good, good. That's very good. I would have come over and crushed you. You know that. You know how this thing works, don't you? Okay, so everyone got that? Okay, so what we might do is just share it in a quick pair. We're going to do a 1-minute exercise. Just take it down to a word. Don't have to name this perfect partner, just the descriptive words. What were the descriptive words that made them the perfect partner? Okay, we got that? It'll soon become apparent. So share it in pairs. We'll take 1 minute. Just chuck out a couple of words, single words.
Authenticity.
Authenticity, fantastic.
Thank you.
Give me a word. Well done.
Interest and commitment.
Interest and commitment. Fantastic. We're getting there. This is such an easy exercise. Worse will come.
Listener.
A good listener. Fantastic soft skill.
Spark joy.
Spotting the joy. I think that's worth a round of applause. Here we go. Well done, Vanessa.
Passionate.
Passionate. You said that in a certain way. A passionate way. Very good.
Giving.
Giving. My word.
Reliable and flexible.
My PhD research is being done for me.
Really friendly.
Really friendly. Sounds good. You can make eye contact or not. I will come to you. It's okay.
Good listener, but it's the same as before.
It can't be stated often
It
enough.
is.
Very good. Here we go.
Empathy.
Empathy. I'm demonstrating it now.
Engaged.
Say it again.
Engaged.
This is an endless fountain of rich product. You didn't think I'd come back here, did
Funny.
you? Funny. Bit of humor, oiling the wheels. We're not even at a table. He can't pick us.
Paying attention.
Paying attention, yes, you were. No sleep, no passengers on my train.
Team player.
Simplify.
Team player.
Very good, very good. Thank you, people. That was pretty rich and pretty easy. It was pretty rich and pretty easy. And then we asked, so what's happening? What's happening there? And it's quite an interesting idea. These are some words that we could also have. One of those is a joke. One of those is actually a joke. So we have you could have had these. They often overlap. Kind, effective, quick, polite. But I thought yours were actually better. So we found it pretty easy. We found it pretty easy to identify who we want to work with. Okay, so our preferences, that has flowed pretty quickly and pretty easily. But I want to start the magic now and say what else is possible for our more troubling people. For our more troubling people. So the next exercise seems like a simple reversal of the first one, but I want to go back a bit further and ask you to think of an example. So the last 12 months, probably outside of the Eurodomain, who was the expat from hell? The service provider who didn't. The colleague who, they never found their body. Who was that deeply disturbing person? Hold them in your mind, please, for legal reasons. Do not name them. And if they're sitting next to you, just be very, very still. Take a few deep breaths. You'll probably get away with this. You'll probably get away with this. So we're going to look at this. But before we do, we're going to look at some of those concepts. Can you see the change in mood with the slides? So am I just going to go through another list and say, you want the first, you want the blue, and you don't want the cloudy? No. I want to go deeper. If we can salvage some difficult relationships, then that's where the gold lies. So we could overlap this with diversity. Stop making the easy choices. Stop making the homogeneous hires. It's that sort of idea. So we can find a mindset or find it in our heart where we can embrace difference in a different way. We can learn something about ourselves. Just remember, sometimes we are the target of this exercise. Again, I come from Britain, so they wouldn't tell you. They'd just say, Matthew, you need to travel more. There are some opportunities in Australia. He spends a lot of time on the golf course. You know, get the idea? It's called passive aggression. See me afterwards if you're suffering from it. You recognize that. But okay, before I down it, so have we all thought of somebody? No, my life is too easy. If you haven't thought of anybody, either you are genuinely too nice and another career beckons, or, and it could be, we'll downtone it. It doesn't have to be legal consequences. It could be a sort of lighter version of that. But I want to talk, and I think we've been talking about it this conference. Times they are a-changing, economic pressure, political pressure. Lots of stuff is happening. Popularism, hate crime, hashtag Me Too. Lots of stuff is happening. And I want to I go off on a little tangent, and hopefully you'll see the value of this. It's something I believe that's really important for us not to just let slip by. So VUCA, that was the sort of groovy phrase mainly through 2018. Why am I doing that? I don't know. I love a microphone. It's a psychological prop. It's seamless professionalism at no extra charge. VUCA is an extraordinary idea. It's an extraordinary idea. We have some examples there. Volatility. So volatility, the obvious ones are currency rates or property prices. There's not much volatility in terms of two-way. It's not exactly binary, it's mono. It's going up. Uncertainty. So we have those ideas. Brexit. I wasn't the first to mention it. I thought I won't mention it, but it was all over the program, so I might as well. We are entering our 4th year of Brexit. If that doesn't make you feel depressed, then you are immune or possibly a psychopath. And then we have complexity, and I totally salute you guys when you're dealing with visa applications and quotas and immigration advice and multi-site relocations and all sorts of things, and HQ relocations, all sorts of complexities there, and the ambiguities. And we get back to this. So have you ever had the brief, which is written by one team in one place, and we could say one culture? It's much more complicated than that. And you really don't understand it, but through stress and through pressure, you feel you have to and make the best fist of it that you can. So that's really what we're doing here. But even before we do that, I salute you, I respect you. It's stress, it's strain, it's challenge, it's change. But I'm going to say something. I'm just going to challenge this. It sounds silly, it sounds trivial, but I also think it's profound. You would not get the premium salaries that you get if VUCA or complexity did not exist. In fact, it's the same goes for me in my various roles of leadership or guru is maybe too strong a word. Thank you, I'll pay you later. Without change, without uncertainty, would we have a job? So I think we've got to embrace the stress and strain, but we don't have to tolerate the intolerance of other people. We don't have to tolerate disgusting difference, but we can process it and do something with it. So just an idea before we get into this, and we'll go around the room again, just this idea of the value of difficulty, the value of stress. All change came about through need, volatility, danger, loss. War is the time of invention. Peace is the time of accumulation. So we need some sort of stress. And by the way, what's it produced for you? You are the richest people in history. You compare Alexander the Great or Napoleon or Beethoven, they are all poor compared with you. So life and technology and other things have rushed towards you to a level where you have a 7-star luxury lifestyle compared with the 15 billion humans that have gone before. So am I talking you out of being nasty about somebody? I don't think so. So do we want to do this again? Have you thought about the person? I want you to describe, we'll go up this side this time. I want you to describe their behaviors. What characteristics of those people, what characteristics of their behavior do you find unacceptable or do you find difficult? Are we okay with this? I know you're very nice people and very polite people. I'd like you to sort of stretch and go out on a limb here. Let's collect these and see if we can do something with it. So take a minute. We're going to use some technology here. Technology underpins mobility. So I've got this new app from the Railway Museum. Okay, you've got 1 minute. Go! Talk to each other, please. Talk to each other. Let's collect a little bit of input. Shy and retiring Paul is delegating after 22 years. This is the first time he's delegated.
Ivan, misogynist.
Okay, sorry. I don't know which one of us that was directed at. Any lawyers in the room? I'm going to quickly move on. You're a good sport, I hope. Very good.
Unbelievable negativity. Suck the life out of you.
There we go. Exactly. Well done. Thank you. Plenty of empathy with that. Good. Okay, you're looking cautious. You're going to survive this.
I will. Uncommunicative.
Uncommunicative. A presenter's worst nightmare, in fact. Thank you.
Dishonesty.
Dishonesty in all its forms. I think that came up in the plenary. You can avoid eye contact, but you know it's going to happen.
Rude.
Do you think I was rude? Okay. What have we got?
Irritable?
Irritable. That one came from the heart.
Stupid.
All right. Anything stupid? Yeah, you were repeating that. What have you got?
Spoilt.
Socioeconomic differentiation from table 17. Like it. Good. Big finish.
Angsty.
Angsty. Like it. Like it. So thank you. Give yourselves a clap. Again, you're an extraordinary group of people. You have managed to not overlap with the general population. So here's some other suggestions. So have a read those. Almost none of those. Actually, Rude came out, didn't it? There was a couple of unethical. But we have some stuff. So what am I going to say about this? Are these people to be avoided? Is it an opportunity which we're going to let slip by? So I want you to think about what just happened. You saw some behaviors, you labeled them, and they had implications for you. So it's quite a complicated process, and we could call this your socialization. Arrogant, we had a chat. This trigger, arrogant, comes up in some towns, in some companies. Investment bankers, they're so arrogant. And I think arrogant is not a final label. It's the start of a really interesting and often fruitful conversation. And by the way, I want my brain surgeon to be arrogant. And I believe your first keynote was about a pilot. And I want my pilot to be fairly arrogant as well. If you think, you know what I mean? Just sort of projecting confidence, not showing doubt or fear, and some other ideas. So we have passive, unethical, a charmer, a cowboy, and so forth. These are your perceptions. So I want you to loosen those labels. They are your labels. They are more ambiguous than you think. You put them on in the heat of the moment. There is a reason that you've done that, and maybe we can look again. So I am starting out on the world of mediation. I do a lot of work within negotiation, and I have to meet the unpalatable. Characters who you wouldn't choose to spend an afternoon in a room with. I can't be closed down by those labels. I've got to go further. So I've got to go look forward. So it really is the situation, the circumstances that make a big difference there. And so it's perceptions, it's not an absolute. So I have to go beyond this and say, those are just labels. Let's fully dig and explore the absolute and find the gold. There's gold in everyone in this room. I've mentioned it before. That's why the slides are yellow. And we're going to come up with a powerful slide a little bit later. Everyone is a treasure trove, and it's about finding out. So let's put this to the test. With apologies, I just made a couple of shout-outs here. Are you easily embarrassed, Milton? Okay, well, let's give it a go. Shall we give it a go? In the room, we are in the presence of probably the foremost expert and deep philosophical thinker in the world of culture and matters intercultural, Professor Milton Bennett. Round of applause for this man. If you hold up a white card, we'll see if the color has changed. And we've achieved something today. That's fantastic. And another guy who I shouldn't have had the 17th pint with last night, really putting cultural knowledge into companies. The architecture of culture is amazing. So David Trickey, give him a quick round of applause. Why did I come to this talk? Why did I come to this talk? So this powerful idea, I'm bigging you up now because I'm going essentialist. Before this great man, there were other people. He's standing on their shoulders. So we're going to back a bit of essentialism, so forgive me for that. This is for illustrative purposes. If you have been successful, and you have been successful, the proof of that is you are here, you will be called words on the left-hand side of the screen, or you will have been called words on the right-hand side of the screen. So I just want to explore that now. Is anyone recognizing it? Some nervous movement here. Rude, arrogant, bossy, demanding, or pushy. That's not bad. That's a thing, without reification clouding our judgment. It's a piece. Hold it, celebrate it. Get the T-shirt printed tomorrow. Downtown Munich. They do work on a Saturday. Or you've been on the other side and you've been called full of hot air. When will they ever land the fish on the boat? Will they ever stop circling Munich airport and land so we can move on? They're the avoider of facts and the truth. Okay? So both sides are harsh labels to absorb. It's not pleasant and we can get very upset. But I would say forget that. Celebrate your identity because it's valid. So if we reframe very simply the idea of being a direct communicator, you mean what you say what you mean, you believe in the integrity of data. Sometimes the whistle must be blown. Sometimes the truth must be broadcast. And again, in these troubled times, we can avoid it, we can be threatened, but maybe we have to find our voice and be direct when something wrong, that is a judgment, when something wrong is happening, when something dangerous is happening. The plenary this morning, we talked about those shortcuts which leads to dishonesty, or when the taxman calls it's a little bit too late. So there is an absolute function for directness, the truth teller. Celebrate it and try not to be as upset. On the other side, there are those people who are relationship maintainers. They are in your lives, they're in your companies, they're in your business portfolio. You meet them every day. There's a few in the hotel. And I celebrate, again, your extraordinary customer-facing abilities. So a lot of you have these attributes, these behaviors. But what's the point of that? You believe in good times, keeping the doors of communication open for a purpose. It's less necessary in the good times. It's not unpleasant. But again, in those dark times, have you got those doors open? Can you communicate? Have you got a quotient of trust? Pennies in the trust bank account, as Stephen Covey talks about. If you've got those pennies in the bank account, you can call upon them. So it's not either or, and it used to be sort of taught in terms of polarities. And the best example of a combination came from another airline story. Actually, I thought of this before we had the keynote. I was on a flight to Frankfurt, and there were two imperfect storms heading for the main Frankfurt airport. And the pilot came on. It was a morning flight. We were all businessy types with laptops. Everyone had some business to do in the afternoon. And the measure of his success happened afterwards. He transferred enough facts for us to understand the gravity of the situation, and he understood the sensibility of the audience to couch it and to be diplomatic enough to allow it to land without, technically, the technical phrase, freaking us all out. So it was a perfectly blended, reconciled piece of discourse, applied linguistics, persuasive language. He knew his audience, he knew his situation, and he did it. And afterwards, that was the amazing part, because I had been on a plane where the end has been spelt out. It wasn't pleasant, it wasn't funny, and everyone totally freaked out. Here, no one said a word. It had cost us time, it has cost us money, but we were stable because he'd landed the logic, he'd landed the facts, and he'd done it in a respectful and emotionally sensitive way, and everyone get on. So there was no hysteria, there was no freaking out. We accepted his decision. And rather like the pilot in the story from the first keynote, he kept on going. It was wheels down. And we did give him a large and vulgar Ryanair clap when we finally got there. It wasn't Ryanair. We'd have never got there. I wouldn't be here now. Someone else would be delivering the speech. Let's hear it against Ryanair. Woo! Here we go. Good. By the way, I did notice that a lot of you have been trying with the travel service of the Hilton to cancel your flights and get trains back. Was that anything to do with the first keynote? I just offer that. Okay, actually, I'll flick back, actually. Now, I should warn you, the next slide has nothing offensive on it. So we're going to move to this idea of the stereotype. The next slide has nothing offensive on it. That does not mean some of you will not be provoked or even get angry. But just to go back to this, there's nothing dangerous on the next slide. Are you ready for the next slide? 3 people is all I need. It's all good. It's all good. Oh, he can't say that. He can't put those words there. Look again. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. I'm desensitizing you. Trigger, trigger, trigger. If I was doing a diversity workshop, I might shout out and do an instruction. This is quite a famous, repeatable experiment. Okay, I'm talking about it, don't do it. I'm talking about it, don't do it. Please name a world-class tennis player. Write it down. 1 minute later. All right, everyone put your hands up if you wrote down a woman's name. What percentage of people put up their hands? Maximum ever, 22%, down to 4% or so, okay? It's not the words. It's more than that, which is what we're going to get to. All French people are, so you've been conditioned one way or another. The Brits don't. To be fair, we've cocked up Brexit to such a level, whatever you say, we deserve to hear it. Women, a lot of my work ends up as female empowerment seminars. They can be amazingly strong verbs that you put into there. By the end of one of those sessions, they are. But what's happened here? It's really about context. It's about programming. It happened over a lot of years. It happened with a lot of people. And it involves a set of circumstances, and it's very powerful. So I'm here in this bizarre scenario of being a keynote speaker. There's nothing more sort of bizarre than that. You are here as a very tolerant and patient, interactive and highly intelligent, and an audience who are being manipulated to a new level of influence and acceptance and tolerance. It's a bizarre context. You are not all of you right now. I am not all of me right now. So we are not one person. We do not have a facet, a facade. We have many facets. We have more sides than a dice. And it depends on circumstances. I was in Dublin a couple of years ago, and we extracted this. I said to this person, how many groups do you think you're in? How many communities? And this woman said, friends and family too. Well, we had some time on our hands, and so extrapolated her habits, her geography, her school, her generations, her besties, all this sort of stuff, the departments, and we found that actually she was a member of 80 communities. Now, some of you legends are probably, if you analyzed it now, good news is we're not going to, are members of 250 or more micro-communities. You get that? Which is amazing, which is why you're so very good at your job. You can adapt sentence by sentence to who your audience is and really bring up a different set of values. So you are rich, you are varied, there is so much potential in you. Mainly it's unconscious, so it's really recognizing that and seeing what happens. How did we get here? To simplify, it's 1 million experiences. It's 1 million heard conversations. It's being on one side of a dialogue thousands of times. It's inherited scripts from our mother, father, brother, sister, besties, best friends, teacher, community leader, religious leader, our heroes, our heroines, the books we read, the newspapers we used to read, the films we watch. And our besties, by the way, just a quick one on that. Okay, quick one, break the mood. Who chose their own life partner? Who made a solo decision to choose their life partner? Any hands going up? Okay. Sitting between the volatile couple. No, are you changing your mind? Round of applause for just speaking. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Can I offer to you a suggestion that it was a committee decision? It was a Munich's Got Talent vote. There were some discussions. So our peers are much stronger influencers than we care to imagine. I was contradicted eloquently in Cambridge a couple of years ago by this guy who was very insistent. No, I chose my life partner. And I said, ha ha ha, dismissing. I said, well, you must have eloped. And he responded, yes, I eloped to Mexico City. Both our parents did not approve. Yeah? So it's a powerful idea. So what's the point of these jolly japes? It's really, we are fantastic, rich, complicated people influenced by everything around us. It's all about context. So just look at that. We could add friends as well. Look at what's happened to you. Look where you've been. It's so rich. This is why my job, David's job, Milton's job, everyone's job, Francis's job, is so powerful. You are the sum of so much experience, and you process it in an unconscious and conscious way to a level which makes you indomitable and unstoppable. The sadder bit, the coda, is you're using just a fraction of your potential. Yes, take a picture. It's all good. Learn that. I will be testing you tomorrow at the airport. You can get this if you want. You can get this if you want. And this to me is amazing. This to me is amazing. So what is the opportunity? It is at Sabine's disco. I said I wouldn't pick on you, wherever you are. She knew I was going to pick on her. Oh, there you are. Could you tell me a difficult personal psychological story? No. I said I'd do that. Here we go. All right. Now, the opportunity is at the disco. Can you keep the volume down? It's my hearing. Ask the people you're sat next to, especially if you don't know them, something about their history, something about their story. Their story will be richer than you first think. Yvonne, Paul, there's still more. There's another layer. Keep going. Yeah? So it's powerful. And then if you're lucky enough to have an empathic person, they might ask you to and ask for your story as well. So it's about reconciling the difference. It is about doing something very special. Actually, we haven't really got time for the next one. Let's just do the first one. So this is about a more reconciling. If you had a risk taker and a risk avoider, so someone is a bungee jumper and a parachutist, someone who jumps first and takes action first and thinks about it later. Do we know those sorts of characters? Could we imagine a place where they are helped by a risk avoider, by someone who anticipates and often eliminates unnecessary risk? Can we see that an opposite, I'm thinking of Tony Stark in Iron Man and Gwyneth Paltrow coming to his rescue. One is too impetuous to stay alive, the other is the voice of reason. Together, in some of your partnerships, or looking at the mixture of people in your companies, when you achieve that perfect balance, then something really amazing can happen. So we talk about Charles Hampden Turner. It's not about political correctness. It's not about avoiding it and not mentioning the war. It is recognizing and celebrating difference, depth, and experience. If we can find a way to do that, we open up constructive dialogue. And it's really, I'm okay, you're okay. A lot of you will meet maybe one or two unpalatable expats in a 12-month period, or hard people driving your margin and bullying you in a negotiation. Can you make them okay? Can you respect their humanity? Can you go back to the gold slide and see the treasure within them? Hopefully that you can. And then the final idea is to reconcile your Tony Stark with your Gwyneth Paltrow. I think we all need to do that occasionally. So really it is your story. It is a rich opportunity. It is a rich opportunity to tell more of your story, to share, to really enjoy your life so far, to be grateful that you are as experienced as you are, and through that to be more tolerant and more ambitious with selling, helping, negotiating, mediating with the people we sometimes call difficult, but who can be migrated to this end nirvana, which we might call delightful. You probably can't even read that. It's really about the soft skills, some of the attributes of a great person. Those would be the verbs that we need to look at of listening and respect and so forth. So what are you going to do? You don't have to shout this out. Make a personal promise now. Make a personal promise now. What are you going to do over the next 12 months? How are you going to make your newfound self-awareness, your newfound tolerance of other people, pay back for your company, for your golden goose global corporate customers, for your younger colleagues, for your older colleagues? How can you make a difference through the application of some of these ideas, which start with I'm okay, you're okay, and go into some depth which can be incredibly profound and rewarding? So when we look at those, why do they annoy me? We could even change that question. I'm choosing to label this as annoying. What can I do to move forward? Do I annoy them before today? Sorry, yes. Now you've got a choice. That's called empowerment. That's called accountability. Crucial accountability. So hopefully we've given you some ideas today. What do I wish for you? I wish for you that you have a beautiful year, that we end this conference on a high, and that dad dancing is legalized in the disco tonight. People, thank you. Thank you very much.